For more chat about geek entertainment, answers to your questions, and news from the wider world of Christian geekery, get the Christian Geek Central podcast today on iTunes and other podcast services. Well, my editing skills are crap, but can the same thing be said about, Tribes of Europa, episodes 1 and 2 on Netflix? Stick around and find out. That was somewhere in the neighborhood of the Danny Elfman Planet of the Apes theme song, which I guess is kind of dystopian, I don't know, it's the closest I could find. Hey, I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. This is my uncut review of Tribes of Europa. Gonna just focus on episodes 1 and 2. I can't always, when I'm trying out a new series to review it, give attention to both the first and the second episode, but I did have time this time, and I like to do that when I can, because I feel like it gives me a chance to really see, okay, what is this thing going to be like? Are my first impressions right or not? And so the synopsis on IMDb, well, it's a blended synopsis. There's 2 of them provided, and I kind of blended them together. 2074, in the wake of a mysterious global disaster, war rages between the tribes that have emerged from the wreckage of Europe. 3 siblings from the peaceful Origine tribe are separated and forced to forge their own paths, caught up in the conflict when they come into possession of a mysterious cube. All right, so this is a dystopian drama, but with plenty of suspense elements and also some action as well. It's either a European or an international production of some kind. It's bilingual at the very least, alternating between German and English. And usually there's a logic to that, an in-world logic. But sometimes it felt like they were just taking turns. I was like, well, is that their... I thought German was kind of like their native language. In some cases, it seems like English is the default that maybe multiple different tribes will know, and so they'll go to English when they realize that, you know, the other tribe or the other people they're encountering don't speak German or whatever. But there's at least one scene where I was like, why are you guys speaking English now? I mean, I'm grateful because I don't understand German. They do have subtitles, but I appreciate when they do go to English, and I'm willing to forgive them a bit because I can connect with the performances more when that's the case. I'll come back to that in a second when I talk about the performances. There are different factions in this world with very different values and different cultures that have developed, and I'm really interested to learn more about each of them, because sometimes there'll be strange things that they do and like, oh, what's that about? But they don't explain it, and so you're left to either kind of wonder, or maybe it'll be explained later on in the season or in the series. I don't know, but it's not so weird that I feel lost. It's just interesting enough to pique my curiosity. There are also 1 or 2 interesting characters with strong personalities and veiled motives. They're not like the main characters. The main emotion and motive of the main characters that's on display is we're just trying to survive. But the characters that they run into or the villains that they encounter have strong personalities, interesting personalities, and motives that, you know, may seem clear on the surface, but you wonder, well, what's really kind of driving them? What are they going to do something unexpected in the future? And so there are at least a couple of interesting characters that I would like to see more of. The story centers, though, on these 3 siblings that start out together, part of the Origine tribe, and then they are separated and just trying to survive and be reunited with each other. And at the same time, they're caught up in everyone's search for this Atlantean high-tech cube of mysterious ability and mysterious purpose. Everybody wants to get their hands on it. The stakes are personally high for the main characters, with character deaths that are felt both for their brutality and how they happen, but then also in what they mean to the survivors. The mystery of the cube and the veiled motives and the discovery of just this world in general do have me curious to continue watching. There are only 6 episodes in this season that's been released, so it's not a huge commitment for me to try out if I decide to go further into it and really want to give it a good, solid, full season chance. Let me talk about the performances just briefly. Largely unfamiliar faces, which I always really enjoy. It just helps me to get kind of lost into the believability of the characters a little bit more. I only recognized one one actor who plays one of the siblings, and he was a supporting role in the Netflix series Warrior Nun. So that was the only one that I recognized, and I was like, huh, he looks maybe a little bit familiar. But other than that, all new faces to me, or faces that I don't remember if I did see him before, and solid performers, and so that combination I really appreciate. I do wish that it was all in English, because since I understand English, I know what it means. I can tell when an actor is emphasizing one word, like maybe they stress it. Like there was one moment where this woman closed her eyes on this one word, and it was an adjective that really expressed what she was saying through her emphasis. But I'm missing that when it's in German, because I'm just seeing the translation at the bottom in the subtitles. I don't know which words are which when they emphasize their word or don't, or just seem to rattle right through them, So for me, I really best appreciate the performances when they were in English, and so for that reason, I do wish that there was more English. Although I do appreciate the bilingual nature of it in other respects, because it adds to the sense of realism for this world, and that there are these different existing cultures and stuff. So there's some give and take, there's some pros and cons to that approach. But all of the actors do seem to emote well to me, and they react to their situations with the sort of grounded emotions that I want in fiction in general. So I'm pretty satisfied with the performances. As far as the stunts and visuals go, there is action. The stunts are not memorable. I would say the thing that's most memorable about the action is the brutality of some of the deaths and the combat. The sets, costumes, makeup, all of that solid, though sometimes in their design choices, they're just a little more clean than I would want or expect them to be in a dystopian future. We've got their hair looking messy, but in the case of one actor, I'm like, yeah, his hair is messy, but it's also got some product in it, right? Come on, Or there'll be these wild people that I would expect when you get close up and they're baring their teeth, for their teeth to be a little bit kind of grungier. I mean, we're all surviving in this dystopian future. At the very least, they would have run out of toothpaste a long time ago. It's not to say that they couldn't be brushing their teeth and keeping them clean, but I would have expected to see a little bit more dirty teeth here and there. But I think that's probably just, this is, I can't really say Hollywood in this case, but it's the case of show business where, they just can't help but want their actors to look attractive, especially those that are probably cast for those qualities. So, but it does take just a little something out of it for me. Not too much. It wasn't glaring. It's not like a CW level of product and hair and stylishness and dress and makeup and all that kind of stuff, Just a few little hints of that here and there. The CG looks a bit dated or cheap. The digital matte paintings that they use to create, like, say, a cityscape, a big wide shot as we see people walking into a city, could be, I would say, from 2011 TV. It reminds me of some of those shots that we would see of big cityscapes in The Walking Dead in the early seasons, And same with brief shots of this flying spacecraft, quote unquote, whatever it is. We're not really clear at this point in the story what it is, but there's this flying craft, this futuristic looking craft, and it's very brief, and it's in the beginning of the first episode, but it again looked like something that I would have seen from premium great looking TV 10 years ago, but not the true premium TV standards that we're seeing in this kind of streaming era of premium streaming TV. The sci-fi cube thing, MacGuffin, does have a moment where it's kind of floating in the air, and when it's floating, I was like, okay, that looks more convincing and textured and stuff than the spaceship did. And so it's not that it's completely across the board looking kind of dated and cheap, but a number of times it did. It's not so much that it's distracting to me, and I do have an eye that's cursed to pick out that kind of thing. So really, it's not taking me out of the story too much, but just worth noting, I think. All right, as far as themes, is there anything of moral, philosophical, or spiritual significance going on in the themes of this thing that might stimulate some worthwhile thought or conversation? I think if you're looking for it, maybe the Origines, the tribe of the protagonists, hold to some form of nature worship. One of their big doctrinal statements, if you will, they kind of like end their prayers or their times of communing and doing this spiritual thing, whatever it is all life is one. All life is one. They talk about being one with nature, one with these elements of nature. They reject technology, although I have to say selectively. There is some low-tech stuff that they still hold on to. And they kind of are trying to be one with the forest. It ultimately seems embraced by them to cling to tradition and societal benefits to them rather than for defendable reasons that it's actually a true worldview. It's not explored very much, but that's the impression that I get, and it may not be explored anymore after the series goes on. My guess is it was just there, put there in the plot to say, okay, these are the peaceful, this is kind of the quote-unquote good tribe that we should feel is good and peaceful and stuff like that, and they just kind of threw in that nature-y stuff because that goes with that as a trope in fiction for a long time. There is some interesting nuance that's recognized when one character is talking about the Crow Society, and this is one of the tribes that it's really like the villain tribe. They're these nasty, brutal killers. And although they are heartless and cruel, and really the villains of the story, one character who's not part of that tribe says that he admires them and says that basically they're worthy of imitation in one regard specifically, and that's their adherence to honesty, that you can always count on them to be honest and hold true to what they say that they will do. And so I appreciate that, just in today's internet world where there's just no nuance. If someone holds strongly to one view and another person holds strongly to another view, and you express any kind of agreement with one side, then you are just part of that camp, you are in with them, there's no middle space where to just say, well, here I think this in particular, I'm not saying all of these other things, I'm saying this thing, but we just kind of are really quick to assume that one person is magnetically getting sucked to one side of an issue or another, and so I just appreciated that little moment in there. It's yes, we can. That doesn't mean that he is, this character that said this is on a regular basis confronting and probably ends up killing members of this tribe because of how brutal and evil they are. But for him to be able to say, yes, but this aspect of what they adhere to is an admirable quality, and so there can be distinctions and nuance, and we don't have to get so roped into one side of the issue or one view or another, but so anyway, yeah, it's just something I really appreciated because there's not near enough nuance as we talk about controversial issues on the internet these days. So let's see here. I have no idea what your tastes are in TV shows, but if I were a time traveler, I'd go back in time and say, Pater, skip this one for now, unless you develop an itch for this particular setting and premise. It's produced solidly, it has a number of things that you enjoy, interesting start, but it's not gripping you at this point. And for all you know, this show could get canceled on a cliffhanger after just one season or something. So try it out, again, when you have the itch for what it offers in particular, or when you learn that, oh, it's complete now. All of its seasons are released, it's a complete story, then maybe give it a shot and see if it's something for you. It has a TV rating of TVMA, which I'm a little confused about. It's described as having that rating for nudity, suicide, sexual violence, language, and smoking. I did not see in that must be a broad, those same descriptive terms were used at the beginning of both the first and second episode. I've not seen any nudity yet. I don't think I saw an instance of suicide. I have not seen, I don't think, any sexual violence in particular. Plenty of other kinds of violence and blood. And language, yes. And smoking. I can't remember if I saw any smoking. So I don't know. I'm kind of waiting, as far as the other shoe to drop as far as nudity goes. I don't know where the show is going to go with that. That's something that I am sensitive to, and so always want to be on guard about. But no signs of that unless I blinked and missed it in the first 2 episodes. All right, those are my thoughts. I would love to get yours in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, click that bell to stay connected to this content if you'd like. I want to thank the Spirit Blade Insiders for making this review possible. You can get info about the benefits of becoming an insider over at patreon.com/spiritbladeproductions. And then, as always, I hope you'll join us soon over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. The Christian Geek Central podcast is the longest-running podcast for Christian geeks with over 600 weekly episodes and counting, featuring audio versions of much of the same content you'll find here, plus exclusive content including weekly news updates from the creators of Christian comics, novels, and video games, debriefing and commentary about what I've been playing, reading, and watching, and my expanded responses to your comments and questions via YouTube, email, or the Christian Geek Central forums. And now, with timestamps, so you can jump straight to the segments you want to hear most. Get the Christian Geek Central podcast today on iTunes and other podcast services, and enjoy one more way you can geek out and seek the truth.